Next up, we have Dr. Mike Jones, Managing Director of Impact Minerals, on their projects in Broken Hill and New South Wales, and a little bit possibly on Western Australia. Dr. Mike Jones, welcome to the Virtual Gold Conference.
Thanks, Kerry, and great to be here again. You can see I'm actually outside and looking fairly relaxed for a Thursday, yes. But I'm actually in the middle of a long-distance walk in the southwest of WA called the Cape to Cape, and having a bit of relax before getting to the conference in Sydney next week, where hopefully I'll be able to see you for the first time in quite a while. So that should be good.
Well, before you get started, how far is Cape to Cape walk? Is it 10K, 20K?
It's just under 150 kilometres, and I've done about 60. So I've got a busy few days before getting on the plane.
Oh my goodness me. All right, well, let's get into, there's lots of investors listening. Let's get into the Impact Minerals story.
No, well, that's great. Well, look, I'm assuming everyone can see the presentation there.
Yep.
So the theme for this year, 3 rolls of the dice for world-class discovery. We talked about that in our last presentation with you back in February. And look, pleased to say that we're well underway with our drilling at the Commonwealth project at the Apsley porphyry copper prospect down here in the Lachlan Fold Belt. And then very soon we're going to be rolling on to our Broken Hill nickel copper PGE project again, following up some of the exceptional results we had last year. And we're also going to be looking at our Doonia gold project in WA, which is a walk-up gold target from a prospect we acquired last year. So we're going to be smack in the middle of extensive news flow, hopefully some great results to come from the assays from these 3 drill programs. And we're looking to really get stuck into it so I can give people an update. And as you know, we've just raised money this week, so it's been good.
Yeah, so you're well funded to do all of this drilling. You've recently raised 4 million, so funds in the bank to be able to get on and get the work done.
That's exactly right. We got approached by a really good group in Melbourne called Peak Asset Management, and yeah, they helped us raise the 4 million. It was probably one of the easier raises that I've done. Not so many phone calls this time round, and very well managed by that group there, and very good. Very glad to be working with them. So, as people might be aware, we are underway drilling at the moment at our Apsley project. And really, just a quick reminder, we've got very large ground holdings in prospective terrains around Australia, in particular Commonwealth, which is the Lachlan Fold Belt. It's the home to giant deposits like the Cadia copper gold deposit and North Parks, and also the recent Boda discovery of Alkane. And then we're one of the larger ground holders in the Broken Hill area, which is obviously more well known for its silver, lead, zinc. But as people who follow our story will be aware, we've got one of the great emerging nickel copper PGE stories in Australia right now. And at a time of record palladium prices and increasing platinum, it's a great space to be in. And then we've got 2 projects in WA, Arkan, which is a large ground holding in the wheat belt of Western Australia, east of Perth, that we picked up on the back of the Julimar discovery, which is obviously emerging to be a huge palladium platinum group resource. It's going to be very significant. And then obviously our Doonia gold target that we've got there. So it's all action stations. So look, with the new capital raise, we're just over 2 billion shares on issue now, and market cap still around about 40 million, depending on the price on the day. But look, we are well funded, well over $4 million in the bank now, and so we're going to be able to just keep on going with the drill program that we've got at Apsley and moving on to Broken Hill and Doonia. And we'll talk about Apsley right now. So here's a map of the Lachlan Fold Belt, and for those people that haven't or aren't familiar with it, it's mainly famous for the Cadia Ridgeway group of deposits discovered just about 40 years ago now, and it's now basically 50 million ounces of gold and well in excess of 10 million tons of copper. It's one of the world's great ore bodies. Or group of ore bodies, but also significant discoveries. North Parks, originally owned by Rio, now owned by the Chinese, China Molybdenum, and then Cal. And some of these figures are out of date now because Evolution, of course, have done a fantastic job at Cal with their gold and copper deposit there. So we're up here at Commonwealth, just in the north of the Lachlan Fold Belt, and that's become a hot area in the last 18 months or so because of the discovery by Alkane Resources of the Boda porphyry copper gold deposit. Now, Alkane are full on at the moment. They've got some sort of 30,000 metre drill program or more going on. Quite a significant discovery. Some narrower intercepts, sort of 100 metres at 1 to 2 grams gold equivalent. And that's the sort of thing that you really need to make these deposits sing. They're getting some nice thick intercepts up to 1,000 metres thick of lower grade in and around this higher grade core. And I think they'll probably deliver some good news over the next few months from there. And that set off quite a big rush in the Lachlan for juniors as ourselves, Alice Queen, Magmatic Resources, Kincora, a whole group of us that are actively exploring for this type of deposit. And look, our focus has been at Apsley on this map on the right in through here. And we can see the scale 5 kilometres. And so Boda is about 3 or 4 kilometres just north of our ground. And we've identified Apsley as a bit of a standout target. And people will have heard me speak about that before. We have this very distinctive soil geochemistry anomaly called the zinc donut. We have a core of gold, copper, platinum, and palladium. And this is in soil geochemistry, I should add. And this is important, the platinum and palladium, because this particular type of porphyry, they're alkaline in nature and they're characterized by platinum and palladium. And it's got this halo of zinc, lead, and manganese, lower temperature outer metals surrounding this core. And this is a very characteristic feature that you commonly see around large porphyry copper gold deposits like Wafi-Golpu and PNG, shown here on the right at the same scale. And this is an image of the zinc in the soils around this thing. And it's got this beautiful outer circle, and the gold and the copper sits in the middle there. So we've been very excited to drill this. There's copper at surface. There'd been no previous drilling, and we got some pretty exciting IP results, which are designed to find disseminated sulfide. And we've got one example of this shown in through here. It's called Chargeability. And so look, we found quite a bit of disseminated pyrite in and around these chargeability anomalies. Underneath this, this is the soil geochemistry here: gold, copper, platinum, and palladium. And so we're waiting for the assays.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mike, but for those on this call or on this conference that are not technically minded, what do you mean by chargeability?
Okay, no, that's a fair question. So chargeability is just is what happens when you put an electrical current into the ground, and we basically pump that current through. And if there's any fine sulfide there, it basically lights up, each one of them like little light bulbs. And it's a measure of how chargeable, how much electricity it can actually absorb and light up. And it's the sulfide that's in there. And what we're looking for is the sulfide halo that's got the copper and the gold and the other metals of interest in there. And that's really the key thing in this area. It's sitting underneath this gold, copper, platinum anomaly here. And we've drilled these holes here. We're looking for the assays. They should be through in the next couple of weeks. And we're pretty hopeful that's going to give us some some nice results, and certainly for gold. And what we found a lot of is shown here on the right here, and you can see this sort of red and greeny colour that we see in this picture of some of the rock chips that we've got from the drill. And from these are called reverse circulation, and basically the hammer on the end of the drill rig just beats the rock into a pulp, and we get little chips like this. And this red rock alteration is absolutely characteristic around these alkaline porphyries, of which Cadia, Ridgeway, and North Parks are examples of that. And in fact, there was some talks done recently by some of the researchers at one of the big universities in Tasmania, sort of saying that this red rock alteration, when you see it, you really need to start looking carefully, because it's very characteristic of some of the processes that happen around these big porphyry deposits. And we've certainly found a lot of this. So, we're pretty encouraged by what we've seen so far. But we need the assays to come back to give us better vectors to where we think some of the higher grades are. We've been using our handheld XRF machine, which tells us a lot about the major elements like magnesium and silica and potassium and things like that, which are giving us some nice broad patterns and some zones to follow. But we really need the trace elements, the copper, the bismuth, the tellurium, selenium, all these other things to help point us in the right direction. But one thing we've certainly confirmed is that there's a very large system here, and we just need to keep pumping away with the drill rig. So hence raising the money. So as I've spoken before, we're looking for the jam in the middle of our zinc donut, and we still think there's a fantastic chance of finding that. So that's Apsley. Any questions on that? I'll jump over this. This was part of the earlier presentation that we did. So Broken Hill. So having raised this money now, we've been fairly fortunate that we've actually been able to book a diamond drill rig to go back and test a couple of the key targets that we've got at Broken Hill, and for our nickel copper PGE. And as I said at the start, PGE is all the flavour at the moment because the palladium price is just going bananas. I think $2,800 the other day, and probably climbing, climbing still. So great space to be in.
And PGE means platinum group elements, doesn't it?
Group elements, and that's palladium, platinum, ruthenium, osmium, iridium, and rhodium. Rhodium, of course, price of that has also been going, exponential as well in the last few months. And Broken Hill, as I said, whilst it's famous mainly for the Broken Hill deposit, which is shown here in the middle, a massive 300 million ton silver lead zinc deposit. It's got some exceptional grades of the platinum group elements in this belt shown here in the blue on the east side of the town. And the thing that drew me to this area in the first place is that it's got high grades of all 6 of those PGEs. And as I said before, you can count on the fingers of one hand around the world where you get that sort of thing going on. And so this is why we're very intrigued by the processes that are going on here. And we've certainly delivered some high grades from our drill program last year. So we completed between sort of July and right up to December, we were going to do a few thousand meters, and we ended up drilling, I think, 12 or 13,000 meters worth of RC drilling, and got some exceptional results, some real encouragement. And so we're going back with a diamond core to do a program, probably 3 or 4 holes just to get to grips with what we've got our hands on, and then continue on with further RC drilling to build out from there and home in on what we hope is the key area.
And again, just for those people out there, why you go up from RC to diamond drilling?
Yep. So RC drilling is relatively cheap. It can go deep, but it smashes the rock up, yeah, and produces the chips like we've just seen. Whereas diamond core is actually a cylinder of rock, and the tungsten carbide and diamond headed on the end of the diamond drill produces a cylinder of rock, and you can actually see what you've actually got in, what you've got very clearly, and importantly the textures of the rock and what's hosting the mineralization. And so whilst we've got a rough idea of what we're dealing with, we will actually be able to see this thing for the first time, and that'll be a big break.
Yeah, and you really don't want to do diamond drilling until you've got a bit of a better understanding of what you might have there. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that's right. Look, although my thinking on that's changed a little bit from my old school days. It was often good to get a diamond drill hole in early, because then you can see the rock and you can make sense of the textures, and then you build out from there with the RC. But I must admit, the last couple of drill programs, the handheld XRF machine that's giving us the major and some of the trace elements has just been remarkable in terms of being able to identify where we are, what the rock types are, and also the nature of the alteration. So as a result, we haven't actually needed to do diamond until we've actually found something, and that's really what we're up to at the moment. So look, there's 3 areas that we're going to go back and test. I won't dwell on this. Most people would be aware, Morkai Platinum Springs. There's some super high grades here in the massive sulfide. This is a piece of diamond core. This is what it looks like when it is solid from 5 or 6 years ago. But this is what we're looking for. This is the prize. It's 0.6 meters, which isn't very thick, but it's basically just over an ounce of palladium and platinum. It's got 1.5 grams of gold. It's 7% copper, 7% nickel, 1.5 ounces of silver. It's got cobalt, and then it's got these other platinum group elements: rhodium, iridium, osmium, and ruthenium. And as I say, these grades that we're talking about here, you just don't see those except in a few places around the world. So this would be the richest ore in Australia if we find enough of it. So it's definitely a prize worth looking for. And all the work that's been done previously has just been at the one end of this 9-kilometre long trend called Morkai. All of our work has been down here at Platinum Springs. And I won't dwell on this, but we've talked about how difficult PG exploration is. People are finding that now. We've been fortunate that we had our breakthrough with our ratio, our secret ratio, which has got this relationship between the ratio and grade of the PGEs. So we were able to use, again, with the handheld XRF, we've got an idea of whether the rock carries PGE actually at the point of drilling. Now, as far as I know, no one's doing this, certainly in Australia and possibly, I don't know, around the world, I'm not sure. It's hard to explain how much of a breakthrough this is, because it allows us to move the drill rig during the drill program, rather than have to send it off to the laboratory, wait 10 weeks for the results, and then move the rig. We can actually move the rig as we go, and it's been utterly remarkable. And really, our work at Platinum Springs, including in particular the Platte Central area here, and this is a map that's basically just showing the location of our drill holes and coloured up by this ratio, and things to look for are the whites and the reds. Those are the high ratio numbers, and we can see that we've identified this area, Platte Central, which is just lighting up in in white and red. And we delivered the first coherent zone of mineralisation in 40 years of previous exploration, based on the ratio. And it's got a classic nickel geometry, nickel deposit geometry. It's a little channel at the base of the main ultramafic host, which is shown here in purple. And we've been able to ping this completely just using the ratio, and that we delivered a standout result here: 1 metre at 3.3% nickel, 1% copper, and 22 grams of PGEs. And I know there's a lot of exploration going on around Australia at the moment, but these grades are right up there with with the best that are being found. So we think that if we can continue to deliver this, we've got a big success on our hands. And finally, where we have spent, we've only just started. This is where we see real big potential for us, is our little Broken Hill Gabbro prospect, which is about 6 or 7 kilometres long. And until we started work here, there'd only been one drill hole deeper than 25 metres into this thing, even though, and the purpose of this slide is to show it's the same age and formed at the same time as, in the same part of the Earth's surface as the giant Jinshuan deposit in China, which is about 500 million tonnes at 1 to 2% copper and nickel and 0.5 gram PGE. And as we can see here, it's about the same size as well. So we think that we're in the right place at the right time. And our first program, which is the first ever drill program into the little Broken Hill Gabbro, has produced some astonishing results, considering we're basically almost drilling at random. Some big thick intercepts, 50 to 60 metres of lowish grade, sort of 0.3, 0.4 gold, platinum and palladium. That's what the 3 PG is. But we're getting these intercepts in here, 12 metres at sort of nearly 1.5 grams, and there's some copper in there. There's a metre at 2.3 for copper, gold and palladium, so on and so forth. So we're starting to see one of these basal channels trying to form here, and it's basically mineralised from surface down to at least 200 metres and along at least 1,500 metres of strike.
That actually sounds pretty exciting, Mike. Wouldn't you just like go hell for leather in there? Because that actually sounds, there's been no drilling and it sounds pretty good.
Absolutely. So, and we're using, our ratio is working here. It's working slightly differently, but we just released just the other week the fact that it is working. And now we know, and we didn't know that at the time. We knew it was sort of giving us general direction, but now we've actually been able to identify a couple of separate trends, and that's going to really help us when we go back. And this is one of the areas we're going to do some diamond drilling first, just to see the nature of the mineralization and see what we've got, and then take it from there with the RC rig and the ratio. And there has to be a major deposit, I think, sitting at the bottom of that intrusion somewhere. It's 6.5 kilometers long. Never been drilled. Every hole that's gone into the basal unit for us has delivered, tens of meters of anomalous PGEs. So it's quite clear it's carrying, millions of ounces. But of course, what's the grade? And what we're looking for is a focus. Where's the main entry point? Is there massive sulfide? If we find massive sulfide, it's going to be very, very rich in PGEs and nickel and copper.
We got 30 seconds left, my friend. Sorry about that.
We're at the last slide, and then from there we're going to roll straight on to Doonia. It's a walk-up gold target, and it's located 60 kilometres east of Kambalda and about 20 kilometres east of Burns discovery that Lefroy have had, and very similar in size and shape and chemistry. So we can all look forward to a fantastic 6 months of drill news, and that's what we raised the money for, and that's what we're going to do with it.
Keep your eye on Impact Minerals ASX code IPT. Mike Jones, thanks for joining us at the Virtual Gold Conference.
Thanks, Kerry. Good to be here.
ABC Bullion, the Australian bullion company. Trading since 1972, ABC Bullion is Australia's largest independent bullion dealer and precious metals depository. Fully insured and verified by independent audit. ABC Bullion offers a range of proprietary investment products and storage solutions and Australia's first gold and silver accumulation plan. ABC Bullion.